It did not take long for the news to spread that the person who set fire to Nimrod's temple was Avram, the son of Terach. Thousands of people came to hear the trial the next day. Most of the people had to wait outside the courtroom where Nimrod sat on his very high throne. Hundreds of the most important people in his kingdom were in the throne room, including all his ministers. This is exactly what Avram wanted.
"Are you Avram ben Terach?"
asked Nimrod. Yes.
"Are you the one who defied me and burned my gods?"
Yes. Avram did not look nervous. Actually, he felt no fear for Nimrod at all. So far, everything had worked exactly as Avram had prayed for. He knew this day might very well be the last day of his life. But he was ready for that. He wanted to make a huge, giant Kiddush Hashem.
"Don't you know? I am the master of everything. The very sun, moon, and stars all move in space because of me. I made the entire universe."
Avram smiled and answered with confidence, "I swear by your life that I did not know you are so powerful. But now that you've told me, could I ask you one question that will make all this very clear to me?" Nimrod did not feel very comfortable letting Avram ask anything he wanted. But now it was too late for Nimrod to say no, because he had just said he is God of the entire universe. So why should he be afraid of what Avram might ask? Nimrod pretended not to mind.
"Fine, ask your question."
Well, every day the sun rises in the east and sets in the west. Since you now say that you control the sun, please make it rise tomorrow in the west and go down in the east, and then I will tell everyone I agree you are the king of the world, and nothing is as powerful as you. Avram was still smiling at Nimrod, while Nimrod was absolutely silent. Nimrod was not expecting a challenge. Nobody, absolutely nobody, ever dared to argue about his power before. Nimrod had no idea how to answer Avram in front of all his ministers. This was embarrassing. Nimrod sat on his throne, nervously stroking his beard, trying to look calm, but was not doing a very good job of hiding his shock at Avram's question. Avram grabbed the chance to make Nimrod an even bigger fool in the eyes of his own people. "Well, here's another way you could prove you really are the God you say you are, and I will believe you. And I will believe that you say you made and control everything. So tell me, what am I thinking this moment? And what am I planning to do next? Then I'll know for sure you really are God. I will even go telling everyone in the world you are the real God." Nimrod was in total shock. He tried to look like he was not nervous, even though his silence made him really look stupid. It made him look like he didn't know how to answer. He carried on stroking his beard in wonder while he was trying to think of what on earth to respond to this Avram. Nimrod knew he could not move the sun. He knew he had no idea what Avram was thinking. Meanwhile, 365 crowned ministers in his kingdom were sitting watching Nimrod on his throne. Avram had waited long enough for an answer. He began to speak out. "Don't look so shocked, Nimrod. You really are no god at all. You are the son of Cush. And if you are a god, why couldn't you save your father from death? You could not save him because you have no power to stop death. you will have no power to stop yourself from dying." Nimrod could not allow Avram to say another word. He was being made a total fool by his own ridiculous claim that he is God, and now he could not prove it. Nimrod turned to his ministers, his wizards, and his astrologers, who were trying to stop themselves from laughing at Nimrod.
"You see this man who dares to argue against me? He has destroyed my gods, and he answers back at me?"
Nimrod really did not know what to say. He was still lost for words. But his ministers saw his embarrassment and understood that he needed them to save him. And so they interrupted Nimrod.
"Your Majesty, how did this man destroy your gods?"
"With fire."
"Then, just as he destroyed your gods with fire, he should be burned in fire."
Nimrod was most satisfied with this answer. Now he did not have to prove he is God. Let Avram be burned for his crime, and that will teach everyone to fear ever arguing against Nimrod being God. Nimrod turned to Terach.
"Terach, what should be the punishment for burning my gods, if not fire? Let us see now. Who is the real power in this world? I am the God of all gods. And now I command that you, Avram, will be put to death with fire. Fire because you burned my gods with fire, and fire is the only power I bow to. Then we will see if your God can stop me from destroying you. Gods, take this man, throw him into the dungeon till we are ready to burn him."
Nimrod thought to himself, "I'm too clever to put Avram to death straight away. I have a much better idea that would also repair the damage Avram did to embarrass me. If I get Avram to admit he was wrong and that I was right, people will no longer have any doubt whether I am God. But how can I persuade Avram to agree that I am really God?"
I know exactly how. I will throw Avram into prison. By the time he comes out, Avram will be a changed person. He will have been in prison so long, he will be angry with his God Hashem for not rewarding him. Every person knows of Avram will also see that there is no reward to believe in his God. Now, let me think. How long shall I put him in prison for? 10 days? No. 10 weeks? No. 10 months? No. 10 years? Yes. In those days, prisons were underground. They were called dungeons. Nimrod's plan was for Avram to rot in prison. He would not be fed properly. He would always be starving and given just enough bread and water to keep him alive. This would make Avram change his mind about how much Hashem is kind to him. Nimrod was sure that after keeping Avram in the dark dungeon for many years, Avram would finally admit to Nimrod in front of everyone that Nimrod was the real God, or else Avram would be killed. Do you think Avram would blame Hashem for being in a dark dungeon? Do you think Nimrod was right? Or do you think that Avram never stopped loving Hashem, even after 10 years in a dark dungeon? Would you agree
Avram passed this test? Absolutely yes. Avram had passed this test from Hashem. Avram was willing to stand up to the most powerful, fearful, and cruel man in all world history, Nimrod HaRasha. And Avram was willing to tell Nimrod right to his face that he was no god at all. Instead, he would proudly declare, only Hashem is the real power in the entire world. During his 10 years in the dungeon, Avram spent his time talking to Hashem as he always did, constantly thinking about Hashem's kindness, His greatness, and using all the examples he could think of how Hashem has been good to him and the world, and just keep saying thank you, thank you, thank you. Instead of Avram being angry with Hashem, he ended up loving Hashem more and more. He would think of lots of ways he would show his love for Hashem if he was ever freed from this dungeon. He was completely calm about the real chance that he would be let out of the dungeon and thrown into a fire to burn to death if he refused to admit Nimrod was a real god. He was calm because he was ready to die for Hashem. So Nimrod was shocked when Avram was brought to him after 10 years in the dungeon.
So, Avram ben Terach, Avram the son of Terach, are you ready to worship the god of fire?
To the surprise of everyone, Avram answered, yes. Nimrod was thrilled with Avram's answer.
Oh, obviously my plan really did work to change his mind. Excellent! Gods, bring fire for Avram to bow and pray to.
You know, Nimrod, come to think of it, water is able to put out fire, so I think it would make more sense to worship water.
This is even better than I thought. Avram is showing everyone he's willing to worship more than just fire, but water too. Excellent! Gods, bring water so Avram can bow to the water.
Actually, the clouds are more powerful than water because they carry water in the skies.
Right again! Hey! Avram, just bow to the clouds.
Oh, but really the wind blows the clouds, and the wind can blow them wherever the wind wants, so the wind is more powerful than the clouds. Nimrod was not sure where Avram was going with this. At first he thought Avram was willing to bow and worship each of these powers, the fire, the water, the cloud, and now the wind. He had not realized that Avram was trapping Nimrod into realizing that all these powers were controlled by the hidden hand of one power, Hashem.
Okay, good. So let's bow to the wind and bring offerings to the wind. Indeed, we will bow to all these gods.
But man is more powerful than wind because he breathes in the air and then the air is trapped inside him.
Enough! That's it! I'm fed up with you! You are making a fool of me! Gods! Seize this rebel and throw him into the furnace of fire!